nutrition, but I have worked for 30 years in metabolic diseases. So I have worked primarily with endocrinology or endocrinologic disorders, primarily diabetes, and in cardiovascular with lipid reduction, people who have heart disease. So I have gained a lot of knowledge over that because you cannot take care of those folks unless you know diet and how to advise people on diet and about nutrition. I'm also a certified diabetes educator, which part of that certifying exam, I have to demonstrate that I'm competent in basic nutrition skills and knowledge. So that's some of my credentials. I've also had the very good fortune to work with very good dietitians over the years. Araceli Neal, Carol Schwacke, Paige Beach, Vicki Hall, and they have taught me a lot. And so I have learned a lot of practical. I have deep respect for dietitians, and I hope at the end of this module you will also have an appreciation for what they can do. You cannot treat disease, a lot of diseases, unless you address the nutrition. Most providers I have found over my years have pretty much sidelined it after a year or two. I had residents at family medicine who told me, I gave up. Second year residents who would say, I give up. It is hard. When you deal with adults, it's very hard to change behaviors. If you're not part of the culture, you won't understand what they eat and why they eat. So it is difficult, and I understand why people give up. But if you give up on diet or lifestyle changes, it'll take more medicines to accomplish the goals that you're trying to get. So I'm hoping that through this module, we're going to take a practical approach, but also a lot of knowledge approach and some skills in terms of at least arming you with the knowledge you need to interact with the patient and advise them about diet and lifestyle changes that will facilitate either their health or their recovery or their treatment or prevention of a disease. So that's why I'm doing it. And I really like nutrition. I think it's great. So why study it? Well, it's basic to everything. All organisms need nutrients. There is a relationship between diet, health, and disease. And we're going to talk about that today. Some of it is very obvious, and some of it there's more subtleties. Unhealthy diets impact health. As you start to deal with patients more, you will see this. Certain diseases, conditions, or problems are caused by dietary factors. So that could be allergies. When we get to asthma, we will talk about how those play a role. And certainly metabolic disease. Underlying diabetes, it's huge. Cardiovascular, it's a huge contributing factor. Some diseases and conditions and problems can be prevented and lessened with a healthy diet. We'll see that with diabetes. We'll see that with heart diseases as well. And this is my favorite. Less medication may be required when healthy lifestyles are adopted. Now, if you eat well, it does not cause adverse effects. It may in your brain because you're denying yourself or you're not choosing to eat some things. But we usually don't have to monitor you more. We don't expect you to have side effects from eating healthy. But if you don't eat healthy, you can out-eat certain medicines. Then we have to give more medicines. And that does cause adverse effect. It brings in more money, more cost to you out of pocket or your patient out of pocket because they're monitored more, their medications are more, and you just have to keep upping. It will be a constant battle and balance for you as a provider with your patients in regards to health, diet, lifestyle changes, and how much medicine. They know there's medicine out there. And so Dr. Britton and I can tell you about stories from the VA because we worked in a lipid clinic. And we would have men begging us to up their statin dose so that they could eat more eggs or more fat, whatever they were missing out on. Anyway, so that's why I think we study nutrition. Okay, so the course faculty, it's small. I teach the predominant part of the course. It's a short, very short. Robin Polk will, you've had her for physiology before, so she will teach right after this and tomorrow morning, the nutrition physiology. And then Peggy Turner, who is a dietitian and on faculty at OU, and I worked with while I was on that campus, will be coming in and doing more of our hospital approach. So she'll be in tomorrow afternoon to talk about the assessment of the hospitalized patient, and then on Thursday she'll come in also and talk about enteral feedings, TPNs, and she's also going to show you all, demonstrate how to drop a feeding tube. And she has a simulator box that allows you to do that. So we're going to give you some experience in doing that in a simulated fashion. Our concentrations are primarily clin med. There's a little bit of, there is physiology, and then there's a little bit of pharm. When we talk about the obesity, we will go through medications then. But the predominance is going to be on how do you assess a diet, how do you then change a diet, prescribe a diet, what outcomes do you expect out of that diet, dietary changes. And so that's why most of it's going to fall in the clinical medicine concentration. Other competencies that we will address would be medical knowledge, communication skills, because you're going to be involved in a presentation, so you will get some practice there. We'll have some patient care, because a lot of what we talk about is going to be directly related to how you treat or prescribe things or advise patients. Professionalism, kind of as a global, I don't have anything that's totally specifically at that, except I think when you work with your teams, that is part of learning how to work with a team. How do you work with people who have different and varied talents to bring something together that you can then teach other people? So that'll be part of that. Practice-based and system-based, we're going to talk about how does the community affect how a patient gets their nutrition. So we're going to talk about food deserts. We're going to talk about different venues and where people can get their foods, where they are, where they may have assistance and how that affects. So we'll talk about SNAP and WIC. We'll talk about farmers markets and how those can be beneficial to patients. So I think that's the majority. Any questions about those? Comments? Y'all are pretty good for having taken a test. Usually it's pretty bad by this point. So you took a nap. You took a nap. Okay. Course format, pretty much presentations, lectures, discussions, also assignments. You'll have two assignments, a group assignment and individual assignments. These are some resources. They're in your handout, or not in the handout, but they're in the syllabus. These I think are good. There is Dietary Guidelines for Americans that is put out every 5 years. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. We talk about what makes up or what is a healthy diet. Healthy People 2020. The nation every 10 years, every decade, sets out the goals for the health of the nation. And they address all a very wide scope of health. And so I think it's a good one, and diet is in there, exercise is in there as well, and I'll share those with you as we go. The state of Oklahoma, at least for those of you who are from here, but I think it's a good representation since we tend to rank the lowest in everything. They put out a State of the Health Address paper. It must be about every 3 years, because 2014 was the last one. And I'll be bringing in some things and I'll be showing you how we rank, at least here in the heartland, comparing to other states, and how that affects health. Old Ways is a really good site. It is a site that's committed to looking at how did people in different cultures from different places eat, because there is a feeling that that cultures, like people who have immigrated or have come from Africa, so African Americans, looking at what their native diet was and what it is now is thought to be some of the health disparity, why they're at increased risk for certain diseases. There's been a lot of interest in this in Native Americans and in promoting eating old ways and hoping that that will promote health and get around some of the obesity and metabolic problems we see related to that. Very good site. And then the Whole Grains Council, we'll talk about this again tomorrow. We talk about whole grains. They have everything you want to know about grains and more. And I'll show you some things from their website tomorrow. So those are some recommendations that I would give you in terms of good websites. Course topics. These are what we're going to talk about this week. We'll do physiology today. And then I will come back and I will go over basic skills, basic nutrition assessment skills. You will need those in order to assess your own diet, which will be one of your assignments. Tomorrow we're going to talk about what a healthy diet is and what variations of those, like the Mediterranean diet, would fit in there. We'll talk about activity and exercise, what are the recommendations for that, so you know what to recommend to your patients for all age groups in terms of exercise and activity. We'll also do the nutritional assessment of the patient. This is more towards the hospitalized. This is what Peggy Turner will talk about. She'll spend some of her time talking about malnutrition. That has become a major issue in hospitalized patients, either coming into the hospital or if they're there long enough and we're not feeding them or paying much attention to that, how malnutrition can develop and how it affects outcomes. Prescribed diets we'll talk about on Wednesday, as well as how does disease impact nutrition and age. And then we'll talk about dietary replacements and supplements. Mostly I'll focus on prebiotics, probiotics, and symbiotics. And then we'll look at obesity and bariatric surgery, the care of the bariatric patient. We'll do enteral and parenteral feeds again on that day. And then on Friday, you will do your diet presentations in the afternoon, and then we'll wrap up with the impact of the community on the nutrition availability and resources that are available for patients that I think would be helpful if you're aware of. Questions about those? I'm going to go into a little bit more detail here. So, for physiology, it's very good basics. She does a very broad scope. I went through it all. She's going to give you lots of good physiology on macronutrients, so carbohydrates, proteins, fats, also on vitamins, water-soluble, fat-soluble, and minerals. Basic skills this afternoon, we're going to go over how do you read a label, how do you interpret it, how do you determine ideal body weight or adjusted body weights, BMIs. We're going to look at how to calculate daily caloric expenditure, resting metabolic rate, activity level. We're going to go over your 24-hour diet diary assignment. You will need these skills in order to fill out the diary. The Healthy Diet and Diet Variations will review the guidelines, the 2015-2020 guidelines. We'll look at what is a vegetarian. If somebody tells you they're vegetarian, what does that mean? So you're conversant about what people will tell you. Also, we'll look at the fruitarian, macrobiotic, Mediterranean. These are fairly common plant-based diets. We'll look at the bi-plate. Where I'm going to use the one that Harvard uses. I like it the best. We'll look at food pyramids. What do they mean? What do they communicate? And then sources of calorie and nutrient information. We'll look at, tomorrow afternoon, the benefits and risk of exercise. We'll look at what is recommended, but we'll also look at where do people get in trouble? Who should not be exercising, or where should you exercise caution, or who do you need to screen before they take on a exercise program? Nutritional assessment, let's see if there's anything else. She will talk a lot about the role of the dietitian on the hospital team. Dietitians have a lot more things that they can do that they are now tasked and are able to do in the hospital. They're a very good resource. Some of the best things you can learn over this year is who is good at what and how can I get them to do that. It very much is a team approach. Obesity, we'll talk about how do you screen, how do you evaluate the obese patient, what kinds of options are there out there for treatment, pharmacologic, and supplements. We'll talk about prescribed diets, so we'll talk about the DASH, the heart healthy, the TLC, the renal, low sodium diet. We're going to talk about the gut microbiome, and then we'll also finish up with probiotics, prebiotics, and symbiotics, because they're so popular. I want you to know the data behind them. Can they do what they claim to do? Is it worth spending the money on them? Because they're pretty expensive. Then we'll have group presentation of diets on Friday afternoon. You can see, I'm sure you've already noticed on the top of your instruction sheet for the diets, you are in groups. I've kind of assigned them based on what I've seen in the class, so you may be in a good group, great group, it may not be so great of a group, but that's kind of the way it is when you go to work. So, so I know you'll make it work. So the diets that we're going to look at are the Duquesne, the Atkins, the Whole30, South Beach, ketogenic, the 5-2 diet, and the anti-inflammatory diet. And I'll talk more about that. Just a minute. We'll also look at, I got ahead of myself, disease and age impact on diet. We'll talk about cardiovascular effects, neurologic impairment, like with dysphagia, catabolic states, dementia, kidney disease, wound healing, pregnancy, lactation, disease due to nutritional deficiencies. Listen well today and tomorrow. Professor Popp will lay a really good foundation for that. And then what do you do if the kid who's got phenylketonuria and the nutritional support issues for the elderly? Let's see. The integral and total TPNs, we'll go over what makes that up, how's the best way to feed them, how do we cycle them, what makes it up, what makes up a total parenteral nutrition, and that's when we'll also talk about the feeding tube. Community impact, food insecurity, a big issue, food deserts. We'll also talk about various resources. So I talked about SNAP, the angel boxes, farmer markets, organizations. I want you to know about Weight Watchers, TOPS. Where can you refer people? Nutrisystem, Jenny Craig. We'll also look at the YMCA. What do they offer? They're almost in most towns. Silver Sneakers, which is a government-supported program for the elderly in activity, and then community centers and other resources that are available that you should know about. Questions about those? Are you salivating? Is it just too much? Is it so exciting you can't stand it? Let's get started. Okay, so here's the schedule. Professor Popp will be here at 2 for physiology. I'll be back for basic nutrition skills. So pace yourself so we can get through the day. Tomorrow is, again, Professor Popp in the morning. I'll come back with healthy diet, diet variations, exercise after lunch, and then we'll finish up nutritional assessment with, yes?
It says November up there, so just making sure this is our schedule, right?
It is your schedule. Yes, I took last year's and copied it, but I moved things around. This is yours.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'll send out a new one. And then on Wednesday morning, from 8 to noon, we'll do prescribed diets. And I put it there as a block because depending on how we go, I get kind of fluid. So sometimes if we're moving through things well, I'll move on to others. So that we're going to do that in that block. Wednesday afternoon, you have out to work on your presentations, okay? And then on Thursday morning, we'll do obesity management. In the afternoon, we'll do integral and parenteral feeds. On Friday morning, I have given you out another block of time. I debated. You may disagree. You may rather have had the afternoon off, but I felt it was better to have prescribed time to get things done. And during that time, is when we go through the handout I gave you on your presentations, I will be available to meet with a member of the team for certain things regarding to your activity. I'll go through that in just a second. We'll start at 12:30. You're going to have about 20 minutes for your presentation, so we should be through with those by 2. And then I'll go through community impact and resources, and then we will be done. So questions about that? And DM, this should line up very well with what's on the schedule that's posted. So assessments. Okay. So your assessments are broken down into these 3 areas. 70% of your grade will come from the test, which is next Monday. It'll be very much like what you took today. It'll be multiple choice. And I'll send you the breakdown once we get, probably by Friday or Saturday. Your dietary assessment that you will do individually will be worth 15% of your grade, and your group presentation will be worth 15%. Okay. Okay, so let's go through the assignment. So the group presentation. So if you will look at I gave you 2 pages. One at the top says diet presentation, nutrition module, and then you have another that looks like a table that says diet presentation. So this is the rubric that you will use that breaks down and shows you what I look at to grade your presentation. So let's go through your through this this page on diet presentations. So you see the time is listed at the top. It's February, not November. Group assignments are listed there, and then not all of these are considered fad. I took it out. I had it as a fad diet presentation. Some of these are not considered fad anymore. They kind of move more mainstream, like South Beach and Atkins. But a couple of them, some of them are more fad diet. So fad diets are ones that are over-promise dramatic results. And so they will draw your patients very easily. So always asking them about what they're doing. If they can name a diet, then you'll have a better idea of what they're doing. If you look on the U.S. News and World, they list 38 popular diets. So there's a lot of them out there. Some of them have stayed around, and that's because they work and people can stick with them. Others come and go very easily. So the purpose of this activity is to be informed of the diets that your patients may bring to you. It's also to be experienced in researching information to educate yourself and others. It's to evaluate the material on the internet, and then it also addresses communication skills. So you can see there's 5 members on a team. So I thought a lot about this because it's a lot for 5 people to try and get up and present in 15 to 18 minutes. So here's how I've divided the duties. 4 people of the team are responsible for presenting the material. Everybody will get the grade, so it's still a team effort. You're responsible, those 4 people are responsible for researching the information regarding the diet, organizing and summarizing the information, prepare the presentation, participate in the presentation, provide information to the person responsible for creating the PowerPoint and the handout. I expect that the presentation is equally divided. You can't ever, one of you get up and do 1 minute a piece and then give it off to your strength person or whatever, the person who likes to talk. So these should be equally divided. So each person should be talking about 4 minutes or so. 1 member of the team, and I'm leaving it up to you all to decide, figure out who's strong in this and task them with it. 1 member is responsible for organizing, creating the handout and the PowerPoint. Okay? Now, they are going to take the material given to them by other team members and make the handout and the PowerPoint. Responsibilities will include create a PowerPoint according to the rubric, incorporate the material provided by other team members. I'm going to post, I haven't done it yet, I'm going to pick one from last year and put it up that I thought was the best. I had a couple who made 100. So I'll post one of those so you can see. So it goes to visual effects. So you want it to be interesting. You want it to be organized, laid out well, using the same font, not having heavily laded slides that are just all text from top to bottom. So a lot of it's going to go to a creative layout. So I would look for somebody who's got skills in that, who knows how to put together PowerPoint, and has some creative skills that they can organize it visually, because you always want your PowerPoints to have some visual appeal, and to mostly use it to draw people in, but also to convey your message with more minimal words. Okay. And then create the handout and the objective. The handout is 1 to 2 pages, no more than that. And it needs, again, to be organized and to flow well so that people can study off, because you'll be tested off of each other's presentations. You'll also, that person will, I'll work with them on developing 2 objectives. That's why I'm going to set aside that Monday morning to work with whoever this person you've designated is the person who can come and talk to me. I'll look over the handout, I'll even look at the PowerPoint with them, and I'll do the objectives. So my point is not to get you on this, my point is to do it well. And that's why it's so detailed, and I am willing to put aside time to help you. And then on that Wednesday afternoon, I'll be here too. I can always work with people as well. And then turn in the material to me by the deadline. So the deadline is 11:30. We're going to start at 12:30. So 11:30, I need your handouts so I can print them off for everybody, and also that I can load the PowerPoints to D2L. Okay, so that's a little different. So what do you think?
I just have a quick question. Can the handouts be in color?
I think so.
Okay.
I mean, we can print in color. I would leave most of the color for your PowerPoint. Questions? Yes.
Do all 5 people need to present, or just the 4 who collected the
What did I say? Okay, so what did I say that confused?
I just wasn't sure, because I know the 5th person is like putting everything together, but when they're actually...
They do not present.
Okay, they do not present, okay.
4 people present because it's 15 to 18 minutes. 5 people would be ridiculous, I think. That's the way I'm thinking. And so it is a lot of work to organize those PowerPoints and the handout and get it all collected. So I realize that, and I think it is too much for... What I've seen in the past is somebody in the group is good at it, but they're OCD and they got to do it all. Got to do the presentation and I've got to do the PowerPoint. Okay, I'm separating and saying, okay, I realize how much time it takes. Have somebody do that work and 4 people present. Okay, so it's 1 and 4. So that's something you'll have to figure out between you when you get into your groups. Okay, other questions? Because if I'm concerned I'm confused. Maybe too detailed. Okay. All right. Next page, the second page. So material to cover. So this gives you some things to think about. In doing these now a couple of times, most of this information is out there. If you have something that's not, you can contact me, we can look, I can help you, but it may be it's not available. So it's to describe the diet. Teach everybody, all your team member or your co-students, what is it about? What is the purpose of it? How does it meet daily requirements or not? I want you to compare it to a healthy diet, because most of these leave out some major food group. That's why they're fad in some ways and they're hard to stay with over the long term. Do they recommend exercising? A lot of them require weight loss supplements. You know, do this diet, but go to our website, buy this stuff, buy this book, buy these supplements. So you need to know if that is part of it. What time and effort do the person have to commit? Some diets are easy peasy, and some of them require a lot of time. And so if people want low maintenance, then some of these diets are not for them, because they require a lot of planning and then going and getting the food. The more raw they are, sometimes that's part of it. Is there support? Is there somebody online? Is there a website that they can talk to or contact people with questions? What's the long-term efficacy of these diets? Some of these will have good data. Some of them will have nothing or very little. Does it teach life skills that continue to promote weight loss or maintain weight after the diet has stopped, and then what's the cost? Okay. So the things we're going to be talking about all week will play into how you evaluate and judge. And part of it is your analysis. So you'll see that 10 or 12 points is under content is the majority of the assigned topics are addressed, and interpretation of information is analytical and well thought through. Okay, questions there?
I have a question.
Yes.
Do you want the sources also on the objectives?
No. It's going to be on your slides. Okay. So let's look at the rubric. You've got 4 areas. So organization is big. So an introduction, description, advantages, disadvantages, summary, conclusion. Those are my suggestions. You could call them something else if you want. Content, comprehensive and sufficient enough to describe the plan. So people are like, okay, I got it. I understand what this is about. Information indicates that a variety of information sources were used. So you looked at different sites. Some of the things the students did last time was they went on blogs. Some of them knew people that had been on the diet and interviewed them and brought in their comments. So it doesn't have to just be what you can find on the internet. You can find a book. You can find other things that will substantiate that. Articles, then use them. Those give you examples. So I want to see that you've thought through and you've looked at, okay, does this meet what we are saying is a healthy diet? Who would it work for? You might say, this kind of diet will not work for renal patients. And don't avoid it. If you find out they're on it, you need to steer them to something else. Conclusions are reasonable based on material presented. So at the end, you're going to say, I think this is a great diet for these people. And if you have substantiated that, then that's great. Primary sources are documented at the end of the presentation. So your last slide will be your references. The presentation itself, I'm assuming most of you have done presentations during your life. So eye contact, speaking clear, audible voices. I expect you to come as business casual. So not post-exam, very appropriate. Dress after an exam, but I want you to come in like you're going to present this to the doctors in your hospital or the nurses in your hospital or in your clinic. Delivery is poised and professional. Creative presentation material, graphics are attractive and support the content, no misspelled words. So that's a big one for your person who's going to put this together. Okay. All members of the group participate in the presentation. The 4 people, not the... because your support person is doing that, they're just not visible. Length of presentation is within the assigned time. Information is well communicated. Objectives are clear and communicate the learning. Organized, flows logically. Content is well summarized. No misspelled words. That's the handout. I think I skipped over the assignment parameters. So look back on first page under number 5. So the presentation, you have 20 minutes in all. 15 to 18 should be presentation. It should be no less than 15. And you can allow 2 to 5 minutes for questions. 2 objectives. Again, I will help you, and then a 1 to 2 page handout. Okay, questions about this? Does it make you nervous to have to do this by Friday?
Yes.
Some of you, yes. Okay. I can tell you that both years, they have blown me away with how well they do. So I do believe you can pull it together and do it. I've been amazed. And since you've already showed me that you can beat out the first 2 years, I expect even better. You can do it. Okay, dietary assessment. So that's the group. Now you have an individual to do. You should, if you haven't seen it already, you should have an email that will give you a link to Qualtrics. It is a diet survey. What I will do at the end of the week is I will present back to you and show you as a collective, here's how you eat. These are based on NHANES assessment, which is a national dietary or national health assessment survey that goes out every few years, and diet is a part of it. So there's standardized questions that have been used. What I hope to do is through this assignment is to help you see your own diet and evaluate where am I doing well, where am I not doing well, and think about strategies of how you can make healthier choices. It's also to teach you these skills through using yourself as an example. Most people are interested in themselves. I mean, the Cosmopolitan, doing those little surveys, people usually like to do things about themselves. So this is part of that. You will complete a 24-hour recall. We're going to do that in just a minute. You should have a little sheet. You're going to write down everything that you ate yesterday. Okay? Now, the reason why I want you to do this is because this is what a dietitian will ask a patient to do. They'll come in, they'll see a new patient, they'll say, okay, let's look at what you ate yesterday. I want you to see how hard it is to recall what you ate. And then you're going to do a diary. And then you're going to look at, because your diary is going to be, you're going to be writing down everything you did in that day. And so you'll see the difference between what a diary will provide you and what a recall, and how they can be different. So we'll talk about the diet diary this afternoon. It will be completed outside of class. And then I've got an assessment worksheet that walks you through what to do, and I'll show you that this afternoon. And it's not due until Monday of next week, but you can turn it in anytime. This is not busy work. If it was busy work, I don't know why I would do it, because it costs me a whole lot more time than it will you. I really do mean it as a tool for learning and some self-assessment as well. Okay, so you get points for each of these. You will get points for your diary, for your assessment, for filling out the survey. It all totals up to 100 points, but it's 15% of your final grade. So I make it 100 points because it's easier to grade that way for me. And then it then is weighted points when we get to the end. Okay, questions? Yes?
I didn't receive the link for the survey.
You what?
I didn't receive the link for the survey.
Okay, I'll let Monica set that up and did that. So I don't know if she put a deliver time on it or not. I thought she'd already said that. Other people have got it?
I received it.
She sent two. I guess the first one didn't work, so she sent another link.
It went into my other mailbox, so check your other.
Okay. All right. I'll let you look at that. I'll go up and make sure, I'll check with her as soon as I go up and make sure she can find the problem if there, whatever it is. Okay, take out your recall sheet. Yes, that one. So it looks like this. I want you to write down everything you can think of that you ate yesterday. You're going to turn them in before you leave class. I will then give them back to you. I do not judge you. I do care what you eat, but I don't care what you eat. It's your choice. But so do not think I sit there and going, good gosh. So please don't do that. I don't care how you ate. And everybody complains because they say, I don't eat the same on the day before a test. You know what? Your patients are going to say the very same thing to you. They're going to go, oh my gosh, yesterday was Sunday. We don't eat this way every day. just write it down. Okay, so approximate time, I wanna know like breakfast, lunch, supper, snacks. Food, it includes anything that had calories in it. So if you drank beer, wine, alcohol, anything with calories, put it down here. I don't need to know about your water intake. Approximate amount consumed. So half cup, full bottle. Method of preparation, this is more to help you remember if you had something that was fried that could be baked or something like that. You had chickens, like fried, baked. And then the calories, do not worry about, because when I give it back to you, you'll figure that out later. Okay, so I don't need to know that. Just get down what you ate in the next 5 minutes. And when you're done, if you'll bring it to me, you can go on break until Professor Paul comes. I look forward to working with you this week. I think it'll be good, and I hope you have fun doing it. Oh, here's an example of mine. Just don't worry about the calories, if that helps you fill it in.
Do you ever use the super tracker?
The one for the government?
Yeah.
No, I don't, but they're taking it down in September, yeah.
I usually use it.
Be honest, it will only be of value if you're honest. Yes.
If something's not really prepared, like butter,
You had a lot of butter, just put butter down.
just not applicable.
You just eat.
No, it's not applicable because it carries a lot of calories. Put
No,
butter
I mean
in.
like how it's prepared is not really like.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I would say more like,
Just eat butter.
if it's gonna make a difference in the calories, I would make myself a note.
Okay.
If you ate something you made, just write down the whatever you call that food. You can look up the ingredients later.
And you said we're finished?
Are you done?
Yeah.
You can turn it in. Make sure your names are on. Well, you didn't. Okay, no, that's fine. That's what it was.
Was it a good birthday
I'm just supposed to
Hello.
eat
No. I'm not gonna judge you. Remember that feeling, because that's why your patients feel. You will, you will, I promise. You'll look out on the internet, there's different places to find it. And you eat artificial vegetarian.
Oh, like artificial. It's like a soy protein or blah, blah, blah.
So do you have taxes? Okay, so what you'll do is you will go out on the internet, you'll look for this, find something that's similar. Well, you can do that.
There's really no way to go.
We didn't put our name on it,
Go on
right?
and look for restaurants.
Yeah.
That was all one.
Look to see if you'll have for the You're no longer.
I didn't eat anything else. I got home and I was